Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
And I'm last.
And that's Kyle. And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And everybody, welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast on every streaming site out there, The Morning Throners. We're here talking the best, point of view in the whole series. We got Dany. She's traveling across the Dothraki Sea. A girl is becoming a woman right before our eyes. And it's a great show.
And you're not interested in her anymore. When she was 13, you were interested in her, but now,
yeah, she's
not
too
so
old
much.
now.
Yeah.
Now she's great.
This is the last chapter Jeff likes because she hasn't turned 14 till the very end.
Yeah.
At the very end, she becomes too old for Jeff.
Once she becomes 14, it's like, man.
All bets are off.
She's prego. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
A
Whoa,
lot of spoilers
Kyle.
early on.
We just want to remind everyone, if you like the podcast, you've been enjoying listening, give us a like on YouTube. Wherever you listen, there's a way to like or comment or something.
Please, we're begging you. Not really. Did anybody comment and get $5 from the last episode? Did that air yet?
Not yet.
What was
Yeah,
it
that
again?
didn't air yet. If anybody comments from our last episode, they were going to get $5 from Nelson.
They had to tweet at us, at mthroners. If by the time this airs, still no one's done it, it still stands. First at mthroners by someone talking about the podcast. You also have to gotta say something from like in the middle of the podcast so we know you listened. All right, jumping in.
No, fuck that. Just fucking tweet us. Just tweet us, okay? $5. Jumping right into this chapter, we got Daenerys sitting on the top of a ridge looking out over the Dothraki Sea. And Jorah comes up and shares a little bit of a moment with her, explaining kind of the whole makeup of the land. Nels, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so first thing I'm gonna say is this is a long time ago. Like this is before the 5th chapter we read.
I was going to say,
time-wise.
when is this? But okay.
Yeah, this is at the same time as the first Ned chapter. So this is before Robert even gets to Winterfell.
All right, spoiler alert, fans. Timeline doesn't matter. It doesn't exist.
That's not
okay.
That's not true.
I was gonna ask that. Like, does that come into play?
It doesn't matter.
Not really.
No, not
This
at all.
doesn't this isn't really important.
It
but
never comes into play.
Later on, there's stuff where it's like you're like somebody got a raven. You're like, oh, who could have sent this raven? And like they
Yeah.
got the raven on like a full moon, and like you're trying to piece together like, oh, if this person was at somewhere on a full moon, they couldn't have sent it. Like that kind of shit.
Maybe
So,
if you're crazy, that's what you're trying to do.
Well, tough thing. There's a full moon every 30 days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Could
So
have
if
been
you could be like, oh,
a
there was a full moon a fortnight ago, and I'm leaving the wall, and then a mysterious person shows up at Winterfell, and we know that's about a 2-week ride. We might know who it is because we know someone left the wall about that time. Like that kind of shit is what people.
could have been a whole moon ago.
That
You're
kind
a
of shit's
moon
what people
ago.
piece together. That's why I'm following along with this like crowdsourced timeline. But yeah, that's where we're at here. Way back before Robert's even at Winterfell. Not that it really matters because, yeah, like Jeff said, in this book the timeline really doesn't matter that much, but just interesting. But yeah, so like Jeff said, they're at the top of the ridge. They're talking about like how the Dothraki. So they just got to the Dothraki Sea. I'm gonna share my screen and show you guys.
So is that the edge of the Dothraki rule, essentially?
Kind of. They kind of just rule.
They
like,
take whatever they want.
they roam around.
They
They're-
just show up and like fuck shit up.
Yeah,
they remind me of like Genghis Khan back in the day. They just
kind of
conquer
rolling
a bunch of
around
shit.
fucking shit. Yeah, no, I understand. But I mean,
Fuck
like,
bitches, conquer bitches.
This is the Dothraki Sea. Can you guys see my
Yes.
cursor or no? All right. So this is Pentos is like right over here, right? Like off the screen to the left, barely. This is Norvos, what they say they go past. She says she goes over 3 wide rivers. That's 1, 2, 3, and then a short, fast one. That's here. They spend 2 weeks crossing the Kohori Forest, and then they're like at the top of like a ridge. So I assume they're somewhere like in these hills right here, right? But she's basically saying they just got to the Dothraki Sea, which I'm zoomed in on this map here. But like this is the Dothraki Sea, which is where most of the Dothraki are roaming. And Kyle, to answer your question, they're like they roam down here and raid these cities, right? And they go and raid these cities, and they come over here and raid these cities, right?
Yeah,
so
but
they're
so,
like all around. But this
like, I mean,
is
it's
the
fucking
main...
named after him, so obviously it has something to do with him.
Yeah, and so if you guys can still see, this is their destination.
Should we
Vase
explain?
Dothrak here.
Should we explain more about the Dothraki to Kyle?
Well, they kind of are explaining it. We get
No,
some in this
I
chapter,
get
right?
some of it. They're just like kind of barbarians, nomads, where they just like you guys
Yeah,
said, they
exactly.
just
A little
kind
bit of
of
both.
run around
Kyle,
and just fuck shit
Kyle,
up. And,
earmugs, quick, Kyle.
They
Well,
got
here,
a few cities
I'll
that
go
you can
grab
see on
a
this
beer
map.
and you guys can talk.
Yeah, I just want to just say one thing without spoiling anything.
All right, I'm gonna be right back then.
Would it be a spoiler if he knows that there's like other calls running around?
No,
Okay,
I don't think so.
Okay, I didn't know because like right now you'd think he's like Khal Drogo's the only one out there.
Well, Kyle's right. They're just nomadic people. That's just their
Yeah.
lifestyle. They're just like traveling cities, but they're not completely because, like I was just showing you on that map, there are like there's Vase Dothrak, but there's other cities. There's Vase Legis and Vas Arthurithi, right? It's just different
Johns.
different Dothraki cities.
I'm back.
You're good, Kyle. So it wasn't a spoiler. Nelson said it doesn't really matter. But there's kind of like multiple clans, which you might have already.
Yeah, no, it
thought.
sounded like that because they killed somebody else and took some slaves from them.
Yeah, so there's like other cows and shit.
I think in the first Dany chapter they say like Khal Drogo's Khalazar is the largest Khalazar. Like
Yeah.
his slaves are
Okay,
better.
so
Right? They're
the
wearing gold
Khalazar
collars.
is just the
Like a moving
name
city,
for all of them.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a moving city, kind of like you were saying. They're just
Well, there's
nomadic
some
people.
weird shit that happened in here then, where it was like they were talking about catching back up to the Khalazar, but they were talking about being in front of the Khalazar. Like,
It's
Well,
kind of
yeah,
like
when
the whole group as
So
they
we'll just
move.
we'll keep going into it. So the point I wanted to show with that map, and maybe I'll put it in the YouTube video. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If not, basically they were traveling over like some rivers in like a more populated, not like bustling, but like there's like villages and stuff. Now they are once they get through this Kahori forest that Dany mentions, like they're in front of like the open Dothraki, which is why Dany's kind of like in this weird like moment. She's like, I'm gonna ride out there, like I want to be just like riding in like the tall grasses. It's like no more hills. They're finally freaking there, right? So I think that's part of why all this shit happens. But yeah, she's saying that there's all this grass and there's like and Jorah's telling her like right now it looks green, but like later it'll all like die, and like when the dry seasons come it looks horrible, and like when the flowers bloom in the spring it's awesome. But yeah, so like Jeff said, Dany just basically says, "All right, wait here."
I don't think he said it looked horrible. He just said it turns a color of old bronze, is all he said.
Oh, old bronze.
Yeah, he didn't bring up
right.
winter. He just brought up the
Dry season.
Yeah.
milk glass.
The dry season. Well, no, he did bring
yeah.
up the milk glass then. Yeah.
Yeah, the ghost glass.
No.
You know what kind of
Oh, it's
sucks?
pale
is,
as
like,
ghost grass. Pale as milk glass. Yeah.
for us who watch the show, you never see the Dothraki sea in full bloom.
Yeah, it's like always kind of dead.
It's always dead, which
Yeah,
I
it's like,
guess
it's more like a
makes sense,
desert.
but-
It's more like a desert than a Dothraki.
yeah,
sea,
like it
right?
doesn't
Yeah.
look cool at all in
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, so
So-
this ghost grass is so he mentions this. It's some grass that grows. He says there's stories of it growing beyond a shy, which is just it's basically like the edge of like the known world. I guess you could say a shy. There's just like everything past a shy seems like stories, whether it's in Westeros
it's
or here.
Not ass hay.
Not
Ass
hay.
hay.
A shot.
Ass
That's how they say it in the
hay.
books. That's how most people say it, like in videos on YouTube and stuff like that.
I was
You
kidding.
can call it whatever
Yeah.
you want.
I was
But yeah, that's like kind of like everything like over there is just like a myth. Like so, I don't you
Yeah.
can't really take it. Yeah, take everything with a grain of salt. But he says there's this grass that's white and just consumes everything, and that's how the Dothraki people think the world's gonna end. Is this shit's gonna take over everywhere because the horses can't eat it, and then everyone's gonna die. So yeah, they've ridden ahead. Dany rides off, and she says like, "Yo, chill here. Tell them to chill
I
here."
command it.
Yeah.
She's finally
As her
the
brother
queen.
fucking lumbers up the ridge because he can't ride for shit.
Yeah, so we get a little more of a description about Jorah. It says, Jorah was not a handsome man. He had the neck and shoulders like a bull and coarse black hair that covered his arms and chest so thickly that there was none left for his head. So bald, really hairy,
Buff
broad
as shit
shoulders. Yeah.
Strong
He's kind of old
AF.
too. Yeah,
Well,
so
he's a knight. He should
he's
be
a knight.
buff.
Just ugly as shit though.
he tells Dany like, "Oh, you're starting to learn to talk like a queen." She's like, "I'm not a queen. I'm a
Like
Khaleesi."
Khaleesi.
Which is kind of interesting, I think, where this chapter ends up going, right? Like by the end of this chapter, and we'll circle back to it when we get there. But yeah, so she rides off this hill on the horse, and on Silver,
Flying on
The
silver.
silver.
down this
Whipping.
rocky hill, and it says all her life Viserys had told her she was a princess, but not until she rode her Silver had Daenerys Targaryen ever felt like one. So she's like at home on the back of this thing now. But we find out later that it
Which
wasn't an easy journey.
didn't start that way.
Yeah, we'll get there later. But yeah, so now, but at this point, she's like comfortable with shit. Seems like she's having a good time riding around.
Yeah. Do you want me? Can I take over the next
Yeah,
spot
go
or
ahead.
Glow? All right. So she ends up getting into like the deep of the grass, and she like stops.
Well, hold on. Now this is where it goes back and talks
Yeah,
about
it
her,
goes back-
her
is it
pain.
a problem now?
little-
Yeah.
All right. I want to talk about the next part. So Glow, you can talk about her.
No,
pains.
you talk about this part.
Well, she was having a shitty time. Like it was.
But yeah, it started out bad.
It
She
was
had
a
all,
ruin in her, man. Like
all
which-
the breasters.
She's got
Yeah.
blisters on her thighs. Her fucking hips hurt. Her hands hurt.
her ass is. She has
She's
the
getting
sores on
she's
her
getting
ass.
raped every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she's getting raped. She's
She's,
not
like,
enjoying
fuck
Screaming
this.
into a pillow.
I'm killing myself. I'm over this shit. And then she
And
has
then
a dream.
dun has a dream.
Dragon
dream. You know, her and a dragon's kind of similar to her earlier dream, but there's no Viserys in this one.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like melting or burning
Well, it
with
says-
the dragon.
There was only
The-
her and the dragon.
the
Its
dragon's
scales were
all
black
black.
as night, wet and slick with blood.
Her blood.
Danny sensed. So this thing's covered in her blood. Its eyes were pools of molten magma, and when it opened its mouth, the flame came roaring out in a hot jet. She could hear it singing to her. She opened her arms to the fire, embraced it, let it swallow her whole, let it cleanse her and temper her and scorn her clean. She could feel her flesh sear and blacken and slow away, could feel her blood boil and turn to steam, and yet there was no pain. She felt strong and new and fierce.
She was reborn via the dragon.
Yeah, and then the next day, it's not like she's a-okay, right? But she says like it's better enough that like the whole suicide thing she was thinking the day before is kind of out of her head.
This would be a short book if she would have committed suicide, I bet.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
there's plenty other characters that.
But
That's
I
also
mean,
true.
like I feel like she's probably like a major player in why things happen later on. So
Yeah, but if we're being real, we lose less than 100 pages out of this book. If we lose Danny, it's still a 600-page book. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, so the next thing is so
She
after
wakes
Bet
up
there's-
after the
after she
dream
has
and
this
she
drag-
starts. She's like invigorated, man. She,
well, I bet there's
she got
some
a new
spoilers in there.
pep in her step.
Yeah, and one of the handmaidens realizes the difference and asks like, "Are you sick?" And she said, "I was." She answered, standing over the dragon's eggs that Illyria had given her when she wed. She touched one, the largest of the three, running her hand lightly over the shell. Black and scarlet, she thought, like the dragon in my dream. The stone felt strangely warm beneath her fingers. Or was she still dreaming? She pulled her hand back nervously.
So, I guess that's kind of part of the problem of me knowing season 8. Like, I mean, obviously the dragons come back. So, I
Yeah.
mean, this is the first of them.
They
waking
don't.
Up. Yeah. Well, they do in the show. I can tell you that much. I don't know if they do in the book.
Yeah, it's totally
But-
different in the book.
But so, like, I mean, this is obviously the beginning of that. But I feel like there's definitely more to that dream that I don't understand.
Well, it's weird. I want to go back. I haven't done it because I didn't have time after reading the chapter and taking notes to go back and read. But I'm going to go check out, before we do the spoiler section, I'm going to go reread the dream she has in her first or second chapter.
Yeah,
right
I was
before the
wondering what
wedding.
that was even. I forgot.
Because she says this time Viserys isn't there, and I didn't even remember Viserys was there the first time. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go compare those dreams back to back now that we got to this one. But yeah, I think there's probably something in there, but we'll
Yeah, I
talk
don't
about that.
remember
yeah,
in the
but
spoiler
you
at
shouldn't
all,
talk about
actually.
it, yeah.
After I talk about the first dream and then read that, we'll see in the spoiler section.
All right, cool.
Neat.
But yeah, from this day, everything gets better and better.
She likes to ride more. It doesn't hurt as much.
She likes sex
Um,
more.
She's like riding. Yeah, she starts to get getting porked. she's
I
riding-
don't know if she likes it every time. It says when, like,
It's
not,
not as bad.
her
She's-
screams weren't always in
They're
pain.
not all tears.
Ah!
It's just when she
Screams
starts
weren't
like
always-
riding up front with
Yeah.
Drogo and everything like that.
Yeah,
so.
because she likes seeing the land before like the whole
They
army
trample it.
has trampled it.
Fucking roaning the earth.
All right, back into the cool part of the chapter now. She's done riding a little bit. She takes a break. She hops off the silver, takes her boots off, like feels her toes in the dirt, and then this little bitch of Viserys rolls up. Who are you to order me around? I'm the dragon.
Yeah, he
Wah!
calls her a horse lord slut. He's like, I'm the king. You're fucking horse lord slut. Not gonna command me around.
Yeah, know your place, bitch, but
Yeah.
that's not how this works, yeah.
And I forgot this. He like puts his hand up under her vest and just like grabs her
her
tit.
little purple nipple.
He's such a like is he getting
Weirdo.
horned up by so like he can't be getting horny right now. Like what?
Jeff.
I don't know.
Sometimes you just gotta grab a little nipple.
Jeff
I mean, that's
will
what
be.
Littlefinger told Ned before the brothel. Just grab a tit. Don't be
Grab
so
the tit,
obvious.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fondle one a little bit.
All right,
So-
what happens?
So where was this the dream, the first dream? I feel like we should mention what it is in this.
Danny 2. Early in Danny 2, like the second or third page.
Yet that night she dreamt of one. Viserys was hitting her, hurting her. She was naked, clumsy with fear. She ran from him, but her body seemed thick and ungainly. He struck her again. She stumbled and fell. "You woke the dragon," he screamed as he kicked her. "You woke the dragon! You woke the dragon!" Her thighs were slick with blood. She closed her eyes and whimpered. As if in answer, there was a hideous ripping sound and the crackling of some great fire. She soon looked again. Viserys was gone. Great columns of flame rose all around, and in the midst of them was the dragon. It turned its great head slowly. When its molten eyes found her, she woke, shaking and covered with a fine sheen of sweat. She'd never been so afraid.
Huh. So after that one, she was afraid. Viserys was there. This one. So what's interesting is this one. It would be cool if this dream happened like immediately before this chapter, but it didn't. It happened like a while ago.
Well, it was right
She's-
before her
if-
wedding, and like the next sentence is...
Well, that dream was. I'm talking about the dream from this chapter.
this one, yeah.
Because that happens like before she's comfortable riding. So it's probably been like a month ago. It'd be interesting if this dream was right before this chapter because she stands up to Viserys for the first time ever in this chapter, and in that second dream, Viserys isn't there. When in the first one, he's like hurting her. You know. So
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I feel like the fact that Viserys isn't there has like a part to play, right? Because by the time they get to the end of the chapter, like Dany's realizing like this guy fucking sucks. Like he's never gonna be king. Like he blows. You know.
Oh yeah, well that's maybe what this
And this
dream
dream-
influenced
This
her not
obviously
to
set
believe
it
in
off,
Viserys
but-
anymore.
But
Yeah, but I'm saying it's weird that like maybe the dream
It's
isn't
hard to
meant
believe.
have that impact because it's so long ago.
yeah, and it's hard to believe that he wasn't shitty in between. Like this wasn't like the first time he was shitty to her
Yeah,
since
exactly.
the
Like
dream.
she would have had to stand up to him at some point between
Yeah.
the dream and now. Yeah. I don't know.
I know what you're saying. It would have been more impactful. It still has the same meaning in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So yeah, go ahead, Jeff. So this is the part you want to talk about. What happens next?
So like after he grabs her tit, she kind of like pushes him away, and it's the first time she's ever kind of fought back at all.
She says the
towards
first time
him.
like ever defied him at all.
Yeah. So he's like ready to fucking like, I'm about to beat the shit out of you. Like, did you really want to do that? And I just imagine like I've seen in the show as he's like cocking up, whip, crack, and he's fucking.
And he's like what?
choked
What
out.
do we say? He's like
20.
19,
Yeah, he's right around there.
19ish.
Yeah, he's probably like 19, 20, I think.
So he's like a full grown guy basically.
I mean, he's
and
about to
she's
beat
a
the shit out of this
13-year-old,
girl.
14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
And
go
he
ahead.
just gets fucking choked out by this fucking leather whip by Jorah, one of her.
Jogo.
Is it Jorgo?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Jogo. Yeah. whatever.
Horgo?
Jogo.
Horgo?
Horgo?
I don't know.
Jogo.
Whatever it was.
Unmentioned
Jago.
up to this point. Yeah. So he's not like
Horgo?
one of the main guys or anything.
He's just one of the like the head, like one of the
Blood
cow's
Rider.
friends, right? Yeah.
Blood Rider, yeah.
He wasn't mentioned in the wedding chapter.
I
Is
know,
it
but I guess,
Jorgo?
but what I'm
I
saying
think he's
is
just
like,
a member. Of the,
Jogo.
I think he's just a member of the army. Jogo.
no, I feel
Jorgo?
like he's more elite than that. I don't know if that matters, but
One of the Blood Riders?
yeah.
No, he's definitely not one of the Blood Riders. Okay, but go on. Jogo whips him. Asks,
so whips
he asks
him.
Danny.
If he wants to kill him, she says no, and then like
She
The
kinda-
dude
one.
yells out.
She kind of thought about it, right? Like that was my opinion.
Well,
about
she
it.
was
She's
taking her
she's
time.
like, no.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was kind
And
of.
then he's like, "All right,
maybe,
should I
but
just
no.
take an ear from him?" And
That's what a
she's
guy
like,
yells
"No,
out,
Don't
like, "Take an
harm
ear."
him.
Yeah, don't hurt him. But make him. So she looks at Jorah and she's like, all right, Jorah, take his horse, make him walk in the back with like the women and slaves, who's basically the people who walk. And she mentions that like Dothraki believe that if you're not riding a horse, you're not even a man. Like you are like less than
You little pussy
right.
boy.
You little bitch boy, eh?
So this is a huge insult, and Viserys probably he probably doesn't realize how much of an insult. Like he probably gets like, fuck, now I have to fucking walk everywhere.
I mean,
You know
come
what
on.
I mean?
He probably
Yeah,
doesn't.
there's no way he knows. It's,
Like,
he
he doesn't
doesn't
understand the
understand-
culture. Yeah.
He doesn't understand the culture of the Dothraki, but he's like, bitch, I'm really about to walk.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
I've never
the
yeah,
walked
future
anywhere.
king. The
I'm not
future
fucking
king, and he
walking.
has to walk. That is just the same level as
Literally all
How
day
the
long. That's all they
Dothraki.
do. That's literally all they do is move all day long. So he's just like walk all day long every day. He's gonna it's gonna suck. Yeah. So
Is she gonna
this
make him
is
walk the whole time? You think?
for
Oh yeah, at least that
he's in
till
timeout
they
for
set
a
up
couple
camp.
days, I would think at least. So
Till they set up camp for
well,
sure.
they set up camp every night.
All
And
right,
we're
but
getting there. So this
how
is the
far
part.
can they ride? They ride all day.
So not only does Dany command this, but at the same time, Viserys commands Jorah to kill the Dothraki and start hurting Dany. Like, what a ridiculous command! There's so many. Like, what 100,000
One,
people in the Khalazar?
yeah. I mean, he just
dude.
just showed what one person can do with a whip. Like, come
Well,
on.
Jorah pretty much laughs at him though, right? Like, I mean, even if he doesn't
he
actually
laugh, but he just
like,
he just immediately does what Dany said.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's like, yeah, no, fuck that. That's not happening. I'm gonna do this other thing instead.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take your horse.
and so right before this, there's a weird quote. So this is when she looks at Viserys and she says she's looking at Viserys and she realizes like he's so pitiful, like such a pitiful person. How did I not realize this guy's like a total pussy? Right before this,
Little wanker, yeah.
and she says there's a hollow place inside her where fear used to be. Like she's done being afraid of this, especially now because like
yeah, the fear
maybe
is
it
left.
was 1v1.
She just saw this little kid, Blood Rider. He's got to be younger than Viserys. I'm saying he's younger.
So she has this realization because she just she not only is it realizing how pitiful she is, but she's like realizing, holy shit, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, I'm powerful,
like powerful
now.
as
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, there's one person who can do whatever they want, but besides that, I'm in fucking charge.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
number
nice.
2, yeah, for sure.
Which has to be a pretty badass feeling. So
I mean, that's pretty much how I live my life.
you're just head honcho all the time, alpha lifestyle.
Jeff's
baby.
the biggest number 2 that I know.
Yeah,
It's just God behind God.
Number 2.
I'm
So-
number 2.
Yeah.
So at this point they
And we
ride
watch
back
South
to the
Park.
Khalazar. Dany, Jorah, Eerie, the rest of them start riding off, and Viserys stays behind. And Dany's like, "Will he be able to find his way back to the Khalazar?" And Jorah's like, "They leave a huge trail. It's literally 100,000 people
Yeah, like
You
you fucking
know
kidding
riding
this.
me?
horses and
Why
walking.
did you last this?
in one direction." Yeah.
Well, he's like, you're
Um,
the one that took his horse. First off, that's kind of how
Well,
I get that.
it's-
Like,
I think
you,
I didn't understand this at first because I thought like the whole Khalazar had like got sidetracked to this ordeal, but it wasn't. It was just like a few people split off and came and got Dany and dealt with this, and now they're going back to meet up with the Khalazar who kept marching this whole
But
time.
didn't she?
They were out
command the
front.
Khalazar to stop.
Yeah,
They were
like,
out front.
that's-
She commands him to stop, but then Jorah, who she gave that command to, leaves. And I'm sure Drogo showed up and was like, fuck that, we're not stopping, they'll come back. And he keeps going. They stop at the top of the ridge. Dany rides off. This shit happens. While this happens, Jorah is gone now, so they just keep moving.
So when they rode off,
So they don't
didn't
listen
ride-
to her at all.
But they didn't ride off the way that they needed to ride off. Like
Dany
I thought
just
she
rode
rode out
off-
in front.
Dany told him to stop, and she just rides off in a direction.
I know, but I thought it was the right direction.
No,
Not necessarily. Okay,
I don't think
because
so.
that was why I was confused how she caught. It was like we need to catch back up to him, and I don't know.
So I think she went on a detour. A few people came after her. Because Viserys was probably right behind her and was the first one there, talks to Jorah. They immediately leave. Jorah's not there to give the command to anyone. The Khalazar keeps going. They have the fight. Dany and Jorah ride back. Because it says Dany rides back and meets the Khalazar at dusk.
Yeah,
Right? We don't know how late this thing started, but
Jorah fucked up here, or George R. R. Martin fucked up here.
I don't think
It's
so.
just that
I think they just got a little.
she
detour and went
commanded them
back.
to stop, and then they kept going.
The
She's
person
number 2 in
that she
command.
gave
well,
that
and
command
it's
to
100,000
immediately rode off
people.
after her.
You think
What do you mean?
that they got
Viserys heard
past
the
them?
command.
He
It
got
probably,
pissed and then took off, and Jorah chased him.
it probably takes like an hour for that parade to get past them, though. Like, you think this happened in an hour?
I get that. 100,000
Like,
people passing is
yeah,
ridiculous,
that's
but
a huge number of people.
I don't know. Whatever.
Your idol isn't perfect, Nelson.
George,
It's
you
all right.
suck.
That's why the timeline doesn't matter really, because George
This
just
does not affect the timeline. This 2-hour-long ordeal.
I don't
whatever.
know. It could play a huge role.
So they're on their way back, and before Dany rides off back to the Khalazar, she starts to get afraid of like, oh fuck, when he comes back, he's gonna hurt me. Like I've never hit him before. I woke the dragon, and Jorah's like, you can't wake something
That's
that's dead. He's
That's-
not a
yeah.
dragon.
The shadow of a snake.
He's a little bitch boy.
Yeah, and then this is when
He's a little bitch boy.
This has to be a huge red flag if you're Daenerys.
Yeah, so I got this quote. Dany says, he is still a true king. Jorah pulled up his horse and looked at her. Truth now. Would you want to see Viserys on a throne? Dany thought about that. He would not be a very good king, would he? There have been worse, but not many. The knight gave his heels to his mount and started off again. Dany rode close beside him. Still, she said, the common people are waiting for him. Magister Illyrio says they are sewing dragon banners and praying for Viserys to return from across the narrow sea to free them. The common people pray for rain, healthy children, and a summer that never ends, Sir Jorah told her. It is no matter to them if the High Lords play their Game of Thrones, so long as they are left in peace. He gave a shrug. They never are. And this is when Dany's like, oh shit. She's like, how have I never, like, Viserys has just been, she's just been believing whatever people have been telling her, and it's been Viserys for her entire life.
She's a kid.
And she's a kid. Like,
No,
but
because she's a kid.
And she's a kid.
That's
It,
why
like,
she's
have a
believing
brain.
this.
Have a
There are
brain for
kids who
yourself,
don't
Dany.
think this, right? There are kids
What?
who don't think that, like, the only thing that matters in life is the king, right?
If all you did was tell your sister that...
That's what I'm saying. If you have a brother who does nothing but lie to you, but it's not just because of kids.
No,
Kids do
this
have
is
decent
this is what Kyle's
parenting.
saying. He's saying a kid will believe whatever you tell him if you tell him it enough.
And you're the only person that's talking to him.
It's
Like,
not
Yeah,
like
she has
you're
one point of
yeah,
influence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Or
And
not
like
even
Illyrio,
just that, but
whatever
everybody
he
who's
says,
everybody who's telling her this, like Illyrio, and as she's getting passed around, it's like, oh no, he's the real king. Like he's the king. He's the king. He's the king. Like they can't wait for him. Like that's all she ever heard. So
But now she finally realizes, like, she's been, like, not a peasant, but she's been not well off for a lot of her life, right? So she's been living in palaces, whatever. But now she's literally a horse, like, person, right? A horse warrior, whatever.
horse
Whore.
person.
A horse lord's whore. Let's
Horse
be
lord's
real
whore. Yeah,
about
let's be real.
this.
Okay, so yeah, she is that. But like, she's seen like the low now, so she realizes like it doesn't fucking matter who's in charge of who owns this land. It matters like where I'm gonna get my food tonight, where I'm gonna sleep tonight, like that kind of shit. That's what people who are on the bottom of the food chain care about. And she's just now caring like people don't give a fuck. Like, why would they care if Viserys is coming back?
Well, yeah, the kings don't matter. It's just as long as they can survive. Exactly.
Yeah, if there's no wars, we're good because then we're the ones that fight them, right? If
Yeah.
there's no wars going on, we're happy. If Viserys comes back, there's a war. We got to fight for somebody, right? We'd rather him just not come back.
Hey, it's kind of like real life.
Exactly. All right, next quote.
what do you think Jorah
One
means
of you
by
guys want
this
to
line?
read it?
Hold on, I got a question.
Which one?
She goes, You swore him your sword. That I did, girl. And if your brother is the shadow of a snake, what does that make his servants? Is he pretty much saying like I'm a snake too?
Yeah, he's like disappointed in himself. He's like,
Yeah, well,
"This
no,
is-"
I think he's like, yeah, I swore loyalty, but it's kind of shitty. It's still not that important because this dude's a fucking piece of shit. But I feel
Well,
like there might be more to that because
We know
Jorah
from
might
the
have a
Ned-
bigger story that
we
I
know
don't
from
know.
the Ned chapter he dishonored himself, right? Like he sold
Right.
traitors and dishonored himself, and Ned was supposed to execute him, but he ran away.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
like,
Like, is he
"Bitch
calling
boy."
himself a snake?
Oh
there?
yeah, for sure. A
I
shadow
think he's
of
like
a snake, not
he's
even
ashamed
a
of
snake.
himself for that. His only thing is he wants to go back, and he thinks like, oh, Viserys is here. I can follow this king. If he's good, we can get back to the throne, and I can win my place back. Jorah probably realized it before Dany, but he's realizing the same thing. He's like, Viserys, who I thought was my ticket, is useless. He fucking blows. Jorah's realizes that now. Like he's never gonna get what he wants, and he was my only ticket. So he's like, not only ashamed of himself for the fucking like dishonor he already did with the slaving, but now he's like, I'm just like, what am I doing here? I'm a dishonored knight who's now serving like one of the worst people who could ever be king. Right? He says like there have been worse, but not many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
This is where like Dany realizes the same things. Like he's never gonna be king. Like
Yeah, he won't reunite the Seven Kingdoms or whatever.
he could not lead an army even if my lord husband gave him one. Dany said he has no coin, and the only knight who follows him reviles him as less than a snake. The Dothraki make mock of his weakness. He will never take us home. Wise child, the knight said. I am no child. And then this is when Dany rides off and meets the Calazar.
I am no child.
Says the 13-year-old. Right.
I thought it was interesting that they mentioned like that he called out the borrowed sword again. I mean, they like keep pointing out that like she knows this stuff, and it's just kind of finally bubbling to the surface, I guess.
It's like kind of like what you said. Now she has other people influencing her other than just him. So she's
getting a bigger worldview. Yeah, exactly. And like, there's more to it than just the 10 people that she's talked to or lived with or whatever, you know.
Yeah. All right, so she gets back to the Calazar. They're right about setting up setting up camp for the night because it's dusk when she gets back. She goes into her tent and like I have this quote because I don't really understand what it means. I want to see what you guys thought about it. As she let the door flap close behind her, Dany saw a finger of dusty red light reach out to touch her dragon's egg across the tent. For an instant, 1,000 droplets of scarlet flame swam before her eyes. She blinked and they were gone. Stone, she told herself. They're only stone. Even Illyria said so. Dragons are all dead. She put her palm against the black egg, fingers spread gently across the curve of the shell. The stone was warm, almost hot. The sun, Dany whispered. The sun warmed them as they rode. What's that first part mean? A dusty red
finger?
light?
I think it's just like
You
how
know, it's
light
dusk,
shines
how-
in and like dust gets kicked up, and it's
Like if it's like a fur, like
beam.
light going through fur or something?
Well, I'm just thinking of like
No, it's like dust.
light, like a sunlight through a
Oh,
cloud. You
dust.
see like the lights of.
Gotcha.
You know what
I
I'm
forgot.
saying?
it
Like
was dust.
literal dust in the air.
Well, and it's dusk.
So it's
And it's
not
dusk.
even that.
So it's
like,
red, it's dark, it's
I think there's
dusty
more
in
to it
there.
than that, though. I think it's kind of like Bran and these birds, like have like this magical connection, and like so she and the eggs kind of have
Eggs
this
kinda have
a similar,
thing.
yeah, and they're kind of calling to her. Is the way I kind
At
of
least this black one, right? Because she has the dream about a
Yeah.
black dragon. It's the same color as the egg. She like thinks about it when she wakes up from that dream. So yeah, she's definitely getting interested in him because the next thing that happens is she has her handmaids
Well,
come
she's
in, give her
touching
a
him again.
bath.
touching on
Well,
him.
she has her handmaid come in, give her a bath, and
She asked
Dany
him
had
about
heard.
him. Yeah.
Dany, yeah, she'd always heard that the dragons came from, again, we're talking about the lands beyond Ashai, like the eastern lands, like past where people know about the world.
It is known.
It is
I
known.
love how they always say that.
I have spoken.
It is known.
And
it
what
is
do the handmaids tell her?
Spoken.
Handmaids
Uh,
tell her. Well, the one
dragons are
handmaid
dead.
says, "Yeah, the
Brave
dragons
men
are all
killed
dead."
them a century ago.
Long ago.
dragons are all dead.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Danny's like they've only been dead for a century and a
150
half, basically.
Yeah.
Century and a half, yeah. And she
And
said,
then
like, one
where
says
did they
brave
come
men,
from?
one's colder. And the one girl, Doria, who is the one who's not Dothraki, she's like the white girl with like blonde hair, blue eyes. That
She was a Lyseni slave.
yeah, that
Lyseni love
what's his
slave.
fucking name? Drogo literally bought to teach her sex. Like this guy's good at she's good at fucking
Drogo didn't buy her. I thought
Drogo. I think it says Drogo
Illyrio
gave it to her.
did.
Oh,
Illyrio
Illyrio
did.
gave it as
good
a
call.
present.
So
You
he
think
bought her to teach her
Illyrio
sex.
knows if
I
she
didn't
can
know
ride
that.
a pee-pee. All he
Yeah,
wants
for
to do
sure.
is mount her like a horse.
Oh yeah, doesn't Viserys and Illyrio both say that they've tried her out? Like when they give the gift to her at her wedding, they're like, "Oh, we know
Yeah.
she's good. We've like,
Yeah.
yeah. That's fucked up." All right.
She
But
knows
yes.
what she's talking about.
So she says that a trader from Karth once told her that dragons came from the moon, and Jiri and Ikwe are like, "This is stupid."
I know the story. Do you care about the story or no?
Go ahead.
So there was 2 moons. One moon got too close to the sun and it cracked, and a lot of dragons came out, and that's why they spit fire from the sun. And then it's told that the other moon will get too close to the sun as well, and then dragons will come back from that.
It was 1,000 dragons, and they drank from the sun. They drank the fire from the sun. That's
Badass, dude.
Yeah.
So
How
the
badass can you get?
Dothraki
Yeah, it's
slaves
awesome.
say the moon is no egg, the moon is God, woman, wife of sun. It is known.
It is known.
Tis known.
Tis
Tis
known.
known.
So after the bath, Dany is now intrigued by diarrhea, as Kyle calls her.
Diarrhea.
Doria. By Doria.
Doria.
And she's like, hang out with me,
You know,
eat dinner with
She's
me.
from Delco. Her name's Doria.
No,
She's
our
from Telco.
ate a fucking McDonald's value meal that night, and he had diarrhea, and he named his character after her.
Maybe. There's
This
a lot
is
of
for
names.
that time I ate McDonald's.
Yeah.
So they talk. What do they talk about at dinner, Jeff? It doesn't say it, but we figure it out by the end of the chapter.
They talk about how to please her. They talk about love making.
So then what happens when Drogo comes
They
back
talk
that
about
night?
How
dick
to-
riding. Pretty
No,
much.
it's not
They
even
talk
that.
about
It's-
She's
dick
waiting
riding.
They
for
talk
him.
about baby making. Is
Baby
what they're
making.
talking
How
about.
to make
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Well, it's impossible to get pregnant when you're on top. So it
When the
could've
girl's
been-
on top.
Who says
It's
that?
possible to get pregnant when the girl's on top.
You heard it here
It's
first.
just simple gravity,
everybody.
Glow.
It's just
Yeah.
gravity, Glenn.
You're a
Makes sense.
physicist.
You're right. You're right.
You've never heard that before?
This
Yeah.
Contraceptive
All right,
information
Jeff,
brought
what
to you by the
happens here?
Catholic
When,
Church.
when Drogo comes, what
So
happens?
so Jurga comes, and this time instead
Hydro
of her
boner,
being
Jeff.
asleep,
Hydro boner.
that's why I got my laptop on my lap. So he comes in, and instead of her being asleep, she's already there waiting for him, and she takes her sleep pants off, and she's like, "Oh no, we got to go outside because anything worth doing in the Dothraki, you got to do outside, under the moon and the stars." So they go outside and she like pushes him down in his bag and is like, "No, I'm gonna see you this time. You're gonna look at me." And as she like, it's just she said riding him harder than she's ever ridden anything, as hard as she rides the silver.
Yeah, so she rode him as fiercely as she has ever ridden silver, and when the moment of pleasure came, Khal Drogo called out her name. They were on the far side of the Dothraki Sea when Jiri brushed the soft swell of Dany's stomach.
You guys are forgetting the part
said,
of
Khaleesi, you are with child.
everybody watching them.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say.
She
She could feel eyes all over her.
She literally they watched. Everybody was
and
watching.
She's just like going to town. Just imagine that. Why wasn't that in the show?
Right?
That would have been a great scene.
Because she's
making
14.
all the other Dothraki jealous. She's like, look what Drogo's got.
Was that in her contract?
A 14-year-old.
After like 3 months, she had to perform in front of a crowd. That was in her marriage contract. So
I meant Emilia Clarke's. Why didn't Emilia Clarke do that scene?
So this says on the far side of the Dothraki Sea, right?
Uh-huh.
That's when Jiqui brushed the swell of her stomach.
Yeah.
And said, "You're with child."
So we're saying
they basically
like
get the whole way across the sea.
And we're saying like probably 3 months later.
But you were saying that they're trying to go to
Vase Dothrak.
Vase Dothrak, yeah, which looked like it was in the north of the sea. So that doesn't make sense.
Here, I'll show you. I'll share my screen again. Again, anyone who wants to just look up Dothraki Sea map. So this is where they were. Can you see it?
Yeah. Vase Kadok.
Vase Dothrak is basically, I mean, a little north, but it's basically straight.
Okay.
East.
Yeah, no, that makes about sense. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how far, but if they're across the Dothraki Sea, they're basically there, right? When by the time they.
Where do you think they smushed, Nelson? Show me. Can you highlight where you think they were doing it?
I think it was around here.
Where the baby was conceived.
It was the day after Viserys ran away, and they were like leaving the hills.
All right.
Going out into the sea.
All right, but where are they at 3 months later when she's pregnant? It's got to be like
we'll see in
first
Dany
trimester
4 next chapter. If this chapter ends with that happening,
Bran.
the next chapter has to take off afterwards. Next chapter in the book is Bran.
Go Bran.
We'll see. We'll catch up with Dany in Dany 4. Kyle, what do you think of the chapter? Any thoughts, predictions to do with Viserys?
Well, I mean, Viserys
Dany.
is obviously so.
Does Jorah keep hanging out?
I think Jorah is going to be done with Viserys here shortly.
But does he hang out then?
Well, he's already done with them.
Yeah,
What's
but
the
I
point
mean,
of
like,
hanging
I think he's. Where's he going to go? So, where is the Dothraki Sea in relation to everything else that's happening? Did we talk about how she saw her home as King's Landing?
Yeah. He says. Jorah basically says, "This is your home now." Like he's like, when he's saying Viserys is never going to take you home, this is your home now. She envisions like King's Landing, but she's never seen King's Landing. She was born on Dragonstone and immediately flees west, so she has no idea what it looks like. It's literally, and she says it's in her mind's eye. It's like what she imagines it as,
burned into her mind's eye.
And she
Mind's
says
eye is not the third eye, guys. It's confirmed by that quote.
and she says that all the doors are red, and that
What?
just means that what
What is Glow yelling about over there?
Because
Well,
we
we're
talked
talking-
about Bran having the mind's eye or the third eye, and we were saying, is there a difference? And
Why
he's
is there a
confirming that
difference?
There's a difference.
I mean, why is that confirming anything?
We're
'Cause they
saying
would've
one's
called it-
imagination and one is like a supernatural thing.
Yes.
Mind's eye is like imagination, and third eye is like something supernatural.
Boom.
I don't think that's.
We're not bringing
much
this back up
different.
again. We'll talk about it next chapter when we get to
All right.
Bran. Jesus Christ.
I don't think that's much different, but okay.
I forget what I was saying now.
It wasn't important. That's why I cut you off.
All right, so nothing else in the chapter?
No, I mean, it's obvious. I think she's finding her place here.
So
obviously.
what's next chapter? It can jump time. Are we having a baby?
Oh, what's the next chapter with her?
Yeah.
No, I don't think she's gonna have a kid. I think
No
she's
kid?
too young. Yeah, I think something's gonna happen.
But she's already pregnant. Or they
Yeah,
think she's
lots
pregnant?
of people get pregnant. Maybe she's
Okay.
just getting fat.
Ooh.
Whoa, whoa.
You know that
Don't tell her
horse
that,
Whoa,
dog.
you can't call a girl fat.
That's fucked up, dude.
Maybe she chunky.
You
She
can call
is
baby.
big.
You can call kids fat. You can call kids fat.
You're going down a
Thick with
dangerous path right
with
now.
4 C's.
All the
Alright.
female people are pissed.
All right, let's not drag this out longer than it's got to be.
Yeah, we always do.
If you don't have anything else, Kyle, we'll call
You
it
got
there.
what I got. I don't think it's gonna happen. But,
Kyle, you
got
got anything
nothing.
else, Kyle? Kyle,
Nah.
what's your prediction?
Meh.
All right,
I told you.
we'll see you next time, Kyle.
Later.
Yeah, Kyle, get the fuck out.
See you, Kyle. Get the fuck out of here. Bye, Kyle. It's great hanging out, bud.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
All right, Kyle. It was great hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
See you, Kyle.
And now onto the spoiler section of Daenerys 3. Hey, guys, what are your hot takes on this one?
All right, right into it.
Jeff's fired up.
Nels, you got anything about like the
Jeff's
first?
fired up.
I got a few things. I'll go with a quick and easy one at first. Quick trivia question for you guys. I'll be surprised if you guys get this.
Black.
I never
When
never
they-
get these wrong.
When they're going across the three rivers, they cross a city. Do you know what the city's called? Or like through an area of land. I don't know if it's a city, but
No, I don't.
Norvos.
Okay.
Norvos.
Somebody we
yeah.
know we get chapters from is from Norvos. I gave you too
Uh,
much of a hint with saying that we get chapters from.
Pennington.
Who the fuck is Pennington?
I don't know.
Davos.
That's a pretty just made up a character.
The guy
Thomas.
with it's when Tyrion's in the ship there.
What are
It's
you
gotta
talking
be
about?
When Tyrion's
How much
like
whiskey
in
have
the,
you had?
I've had a decent amount of.
Area Hotar.
I have no.
Area Hotar is from Navos. Norvos.
Who is Area Hotar?
Oh my god. Glow.
Yeah, I can't think. Of
Oh
who that
my
is right
god.
now.
You guys gotta start drinking beer.
What the hell?
Area
Who's
Hotar
Area
is
Hotar?
the axe guy with Doran. Doran Martell.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't know. I thought he was from Dorne. I didn't know.
No,
he's
he's
from
like,
fucking-
isn't he like super black or he's like something?
Yeah, no,
In the
he's
show,
black
he's
as
super
shit.
black.
Yeah.
Come on.
He
Glow.
black.
I have
I'm
no idea.
disappointed in both you guys. Jeff, who says he never gets the trivia questions wrong, makes up a character and then doesn't even know who Area Hotar is. It's a good thing we're doing this reread, but we need
I'm
to get
sorry
to
you guys
we
just
need to
read
get to
it.
book 4 faster.
I'm sorry you guys just read it. I didn't read the
Yeah,
fifth
we
book
did just read it. Jeff
3
definitely
months
should have
ago.
known that. All right, go ahead. Who's got something? Give me something. I got a few things. We talked
mean,
about some of them a little bit.
Mine's not like right away in this chapter. So
All right,
if
I'm
you
gonna go with
got
one right away.
chronological-
I don't know exactly where it is, but I have just the short quote in the spoiler section of my notes. The horse seemed to know her moods, as if they shared a
Ah.
single mind. I think it's when they take off down the hill. It's when she's saying like
Yeah.
Viserys always said she was a princess. This was the first time she felt like one. That's fucking Warwick shit. I said this in the second Dany chapter when
Yeah,
she
you
gets him.
said maybe. I don't know.
I fucking
Yeah,
said
I mean-
it. Glow, confirm. Are you,
You don't know
confirming
what-
it now? Are you confirming it? after this
maybe.
I
quote?
feel like I said it too, like
I'm
they-
on the fence.
Like,
you
I
guys
feel
said
like
she
Every major character
well,
has a
Luke
fucking
knows
animal.
when you're mad at him. Like, come on, dude. Come on.
you guys said like they have just like a normal connection bullshit.
No, I didn't.
and I said they
Let
had
me
like
know
a
when Luke
ward
is sad.
connection. I said they had like a ward connection. Like
Go back to the podcast.
No, yeah, no. It's definitely. That's how it happened.
Okay.
I don't think it's a word connection, Jeff. You don't either. After this,
what about
I mean,
after this?
I mean, it's the smoking gun thing. Why put it in there if?
yeah, but it's only.
I mean,
like
there
a quick thing. Like
you can't say that for
it's a
everything
horse.
because some like he describes soup, right? Like last chapter.
Why put it in there? It's important.
We were talking about like
Poison.
Glow keeps
It's poison.
Glow keeps an eye out for sweet, and there was like sweet pumpkin soup, right? Like sometimes
That's
you're
the
just,
first
sometimes
time
you're
he's
just wor-
used sweet, not
I
describing
know, but I'm
somebody
just
or
saying.
something.
Sometimes you're just world building, or you're describing something. But like when it's like a huge thing, this is a description, so I could see it like just being like an over description. But I don't know. I think it means
Maybe it's an under description and they're actually warging.
I think they
No,
are
maybe.
but who knows?
I don't think so.
All right, Glow, you got anything for the chapter?
I got a couple things, but the one thing I wanted to point out was the ghost grass compared to like the White Walker. You know,
Okay.
it's like two stories of how the world's gonna end. They both deal with like
So I didn't-
white and death, basically.
I didn't write this down, but later in the chapter, it stuck out to me. Jorah said when Dany says, "Did I wake the dragon?" Jorah says, "Can you
Can't
wake
wake
the
to
dead?"
dead.
Yeah, that's what the White Walkers do, right?
Ooh.
So I thought that like stuck
Yeah.
out. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking too much into it, but
I didn't think of that.
it kind of ties into with what you're saying with the ghost grass. It's like it's like kind of the whole like every legend is rooted in truth, right? Like the Loch Ness
And
like
a lot
krakens
of
are rooted
of
in
legends
giant
or religions
squids.
come from a single source or something
Yeah,
too.
exactly. It's like all that shit. Like there's like the Azora High
It's just
Prophecy.
different
Like we hear about
variations.
yeah, exactly, different variations of the Azora High Prophecy in different cultures throughout these books.
All right, now my first
Real
one.
quick.
Who
Oh,
put the
sorry.
no?
Go Glow.
Glow.
Danny Dream in
That's
the
what I
other
was gonna
chapter.
say. Nels. Oh, what about it?
In the other chapter, before we talk about the one this chapter, I just noticed they said wake the dragon or you woke the dragon 3 times. She has 3 dragons. So a good
dragons.
little
I think we talked about
little
that.
good
I think we talked about that in the first one.
whatever. Just
I
No,
don't
I'm
know.
I
saying
noticed it
good
again today.
callback.
All right, lame. Nelson, who put this dream in her head?
Yes, that's all.
People think Quaithe. People think Quaithe has something to do with Danny's dreams.
Fuck Quaithe.
Yeah, but how'd she give her empowerment? That's my question. If
Glass
someone's controlling her
candles,
dreams,
right? So what I said in the last.
yeah, but how do you change someone's mood? So
Wait, who's Quaithe?
literally, she was gonna kill herself, and then the next day she's
that
fucking
the-
empowered to
Is that the fucking witch woman?
That's the lady with the
yeah,
red
the
mask.
witch woman.
She just
Okay.
like shows up on Danny's balcony once in Marine, and she meets her once when she's in Karth.
Yeah, she was a weird.
It's
fuck.
funny that she only showed up once in the show.
She shows up
Maybe
in
twice.
Karth. I think she shows up in Marine too. I think she shows up twice. There might be in a third time in the books. I'm not sure. But she says that she like the second time she meets Danny, she says like the glass candles are burning, which makes people think like she has a glass candle. And Marwyn says that he can influence dreams through glass candles. So people think that Quaithe has had the ability to influence dreams. People also Mary Mazdur says, and we're about to meet her in I think probably the next Danny chapter. Mary Mazdur says that she studied with Marwyn at the Citadel. Marwyn has a glass candle. So we don't know when Mary Mazdur studied with Marwyn. She might have had access to some shit like this too, right? But these dreams are doing something to Danny. We said it last time that like she has this dream and immediately is like confident, and at her wedding rides fucking as a 13-year-old girl rides this horse over a fire, right?
Yeah.
This one she has the dream and that like fucking turns her whole shit around. She like starts riding. She decides not to kill herself for God's sake. You know what I mean?
All right, I've got the next one. Let's move on.
Go ahead.
How does she not start getting fucking second thoughts about Jorah when he's talking all this shit about her brother after he
Because she's
swore his
realizing
sword?
it's true.
Right, but this is also a person who swore his life to this person, and now he's talking a lot of shit behind his back.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree
if
with
you're
Jeff here.
Daenerys, you got to be like, well, what the fuck? Like, is
What
he
do you,
being
you
fake
don't
as shit
think,
to me right
You don't
now?
think by the end of this chapter, Danny thinks that she's gonna be? I think at the end of this chapter, the seed is in Danny's mind, right? Somebody has, if this is fucking Inception, Quaithe or whoever has fucking Inceptioned her. Quaithe in the combination of Jorah with what Jorah's saying about Viserys has Inceptioned her to. Viserys is never gonna take back the fucking Iron Throne. The people
Okay.
of fucking Westeros are not gonna take back the Iron Throne for me.
Okay.
If there's somebody's gonna take back the Iron Throne, it's gonna be me, and I got some shit I gotta do.
But that's not really what I'm saying.
He's just saying, how can Danny trust Jorah?
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. Like, you should not, like, maybe you need him. Maybe he's your protector. He's the only thing you have from that side of the narrow sea. But you've got to be like, keep your enemies close, keep your friends close, enemies closer with this guy. Like, this guy, you can't trust him full out, and she full out trusts him. You know, that's all I'm saying is,
like
yeah,
we
I
were saying
understand.
with Kyle. Her whole life she's had one person telling her information, right? Viserys been telling her all this shit, and Jorah is like the first person who's telling her, maybe not exactly how it is, but he's giving it to her definitely more straight than Viserys is. And when someone's giving it to you straight, and you're like, okay, everything you're saying is making sense to me. You know what I mean? Then when
Right.
maybe they can hit you with
All I'm saying
after
is,
months
as
they can
Danny
hit you with a
goes
hard
forward,
truth.
all I'm saying is, as Danny goes forward, how can she be like, oh my god, I trust this guy fully, when this guy is a snake? He called himself a snake, and he said the only thing he really wants is to go home. So he's going to do anything he can to go home. That's all. She should be like, this guy's got ulterior motives. He doesn't care if I'm on the throne. He doesn't care if anyone's on the throne. All he wants
That's
to do is
true.
go
I
home.
never thought about it. He wants to go home, and that's why he's fucking.
That's a
ratting
good
on
point,
her.
but to that, I just say I'm gonna go with the easy out. She's 14, right? Like you're not thinking of people stabbing you in the back when you're 14, especially when you've never been betrayed before. Like even Viserys isn't betraying. I guess he's kind of betraying her by selling her to Khal Drogo, but like, I don't know. If I was a 14-year-old, I wouldn't be on the lookout for that.
This is what I was saying. Like, it was a huge red flag that he called himself a snake,
No, he said a follower of a snake.
which is what, a fucking worm?
I don't know.
It's not good, and I don't know. She's not as womanly as she thinks, because she's still acting like a fucking girl when it comes to who she trusts.
I think
All
at
right,
this
real
point she has
quick.
no reason to distrust Jorah, and maybe over time she should have a reason to be like, if she doesn't think like, okay, I have a good chance of winning back the throne, why is this guy still here? I
Him
get
not
that
being a
over
loyal
time.
knight is enough for her to not trust him.
I agree
Alright,
with Jeff.
that makes sense, I guess.
Real quick, back to the dream. Right after the dream, she says it's like as if the gods had heard her and taken pity. So that's kind of like a lot of people we've been talking. The gods could be just Three-Eyed Raven,
Exactly,
Quaithe,
yeah.
and what's it called?
I like you brought this up, yeah.
So it, like maybe that's Quaithe, like realizing if I don't step in right now, she's gonna kill herself and not fulfill her destiny.
Yeah. Side tangent.
Whoever it is.
Side tangent. I'm gonna keep it real quick. My favorite YouTuber who I watch, who does like Game of Thrones YouTube videos, shout out Preston Jacobs. He has read all George R. R. Martin shit, and he likes to say that George R. R. Martin writes about collective conscious all the time, meaning like kind of what we're saying last time with the Weirwood Net, how like when you die, now you're just part of a hive mind, and saying that is like an afterlife or religion, and what people like refer to as God. I guess George R. R. Martin's written like multiple books that have that aspect in it. So, and later on, I don't know if it's in Winds of Winter. There's part, I think it might be in Winds of Winter, so I'm not going to say.
So you're saying
But-
George R. R. Martin doesn't have any creative?
I'm saying this happens
doesn't
multiple. I think
change.
it happens multiple times in this. Like,
He's a one-trick pony.
I think it happens multiple times in this series, right? Like, say that the Lord of Light is just somebody who can manipulate flames from across the world, right? He can just be sending visions to literally everybody wherever, trying to get them to do shit, right? Maybe it is a god giving flame like messages to flames. Maybe it's just some person casting spells from a tower somewhere. You know what I mean? And he's influencing all these people. Three-Eyed Raven, maybe he is. Maybe he's not sending dreams to anybody. Maybe he's influenced fucking everyone. There's some shit with Euron where he has a fucking entirely mute crew who can fucking crew a ship with him, and he drinks Shade of the Evening, and in Winds of Winter some shit starts going down with him. I'm just saying it's a possibility, and George R. R. Martin writes about it a lot. Keep it in mind.
Okay.
I don't know how it has to do anything with Danny. I'm getting drunk too and just getting off topic. Anything else? I got one more little thing.
She woke the dragon in herself. So there's some quote that she said she woke the dragon. Oh, she's talking about
did I
when
wake the dragon? She asked.
Yeah,
asked Jorah.
did I wake the dragon? Yeah, she woke the dragon in her fucking self, baby. She's fucking powerful now.
I think, yeah, this is a big turning point for Danny. Here's what I got, and I hope out of all my theories so far, this is the one you guys take a little bite onto. This is back to who is Danny's parents. Lyanna Rhaegar.
Oh my god.
Danny, and we've compared these two people multiple times. Danny and Arya. What does Arya like to do when they're riding south from Winterfell to King's Landing? She likes to go out riding with fucking Micah and explore the land and see like the wilderness and see all the animals. What does Danny do here? The first thing she does when she's comfortable, she does riding at the head of the Khazar. She likes to see all the land untouched. She loves riding the fucking horse, just like Lyanna. Lyanna fucking loves riding horses. Right? You got nothing. You're not gonna. You don't think there's anything to that at all. Glow. I
mean,
see it in your
come on.
face.
So now
I don't want it to be true. I want John to be Azor Ahai, okay?
Everyone who wants to ride a horse now is Lyanna's fucking kid.
Jeff, you have to admit this chapter is like she like never felt like a princess, even though people called her princess her whole life until she rides a horse.
And she might have ward powers now.
She might be warging with this fucking horse.
With a horse. Why
She
a horse?
she has all the same like intentions
She doesn't
as
have a
Arya.
direwolf
Think about it.
anywhere
Her and
around.
Arya are like at the end of this chapter 5 years apart. So less than 5 years apart, her and Arya in age, and they act very similarly. She's riding a horse and she just has the urge to take off her shoes and feel her dirt between her toes. What character? If I told you, if you hadn't just read this, if you had not just read this chapter, and I said, "Hey guys, I just read a chapter where a chick's riding through on a horse and she jumps off and takes her shoes off just to feel the dirt between her feet," who is it? Who do you say? Guaranteed, you both say Arya. Danny is a lot like Arya in this chapter. You can't fucking say it. Maybe you don't want to say it, but
no comment.
She's
I don't
like
think she's
Arya.
wearing boot shoes.
You guys
First of all,
broke up. I can't
the
hear
whole
it.
time. 'Cause
Danny?
she never says she takes off her
It
boots
does.
or anything.
100% sure it does.
I don't remember because I was like, was she just
No,
barefoot?
she takes off her boots.
What's Doria's plot line or story mean? Like her story. Do
Oh,
you think that
that's
has
a
any
good point.
relevance
That's
in
a
the
good
future?
point.
Bye, Jeff.
You lost Jeff. Hopefully he comes back. The thing about Doria, what so what do the Dothraki girls say about Doria's story?
It's stupid.
Yeah, but they say that the moon is something else. It's not an egg.
Like the god.
They say the moon is the god, woman, wife of sun. It is known. What do Danny and
is
Drogo's
known.
pet names becomes for each other?
The sun and the moon.
Son of my stars and moon of my life or whatever.
Moon of my sky.
Drogo calls Danny moon. Danny calls Drogo sun. How do Danny's dragons get born?
From his
Drogo's
Pyre.
son's pyre.
From his pyre.
Danny Moon walks into it.
Yeah, holy shit. And then dragons.
Birth
That's crazy.
dragons, right?
That's crazy.
Oh.
So I have this quote, and I didn't want to draw attention to it at the time, but I'll read it now.
I mean, how have I read that twice and never even thought
A
about
trader
that
from
story?
Karth once told me that dragons came from the moon. Blonde Doria said as she warmed the towel over the fire. Jiri and Ikwi were at age with Danny. Dothraki girls taken as slaves from Drogo, destroyed by their father's Khalazar. Doria was older, almost 20. Magister Lyra had found her in a pleasure house in Lys. Silvery wet hair tumbled across her eyes as Danny turned her head curious. The moon? He told me the moon was an egg, Khaleesi, the Lyseni girl said. Once there was 2 moons in the sky, but one wandered too close to the sun and cracked from the heat. 1,000 dragons poured forth and drank the fire from the sun. That is why dragons breathe flame. One day, the other moon will kiss the sun too, and then it will crack, and the dragons will return. The 2 Dothraki girls giggled and laughed. You are foolish, straw-haired slave, Eerie said. Moon is no egg, moon is God, woman, wife of sun. It is known. That's just like smacking in the face with it. You guys should have realized it on the second read-through. That's not like enough that like Kyle should have thought anything, especially because they haven't called each other yet. But this is 100%.
They definitely start calling each other that the next
probably
chapter.
next chapter, 2 chapters.
100%.
Yeah, probably
100%.
whenever Danny learns Dothraki is probably when they do that. But I'm glad you called that out because I hadn't bulleted that in my notes, and I would have forgot. Good call, Glow.
Thanks, guys.
Alright,
Appreciate
fuck
it.
Glow.
At least Glow knew something was
Alright.
up. Jeff doesn't even know who fucking Quaithe is. Doesn't know who
Neither did
Arya
Glow.
Hotar is. Yeah.
I know who Quaithe is. I just didn't know who Arya Hotar was.
Some people call her
Fuck Quaithe.
Quaithe, and I kind of like it.
She's not even a fucking important person. She's been mentioned twice.
Marwin's been mentioned once, and he's like the most.
All right, guys. What are your predictions for the next chapter?
Yeah, Kyle's doing a piss poor job with the predictions. Jeff, when we did
Shut
Dunkin'
up.
Egg,
It's hard.
when we did Dunkin' Egg, Jeff
Did not do that good.
he didn't do good at first, but then
The
he got
first one. The
his,
first
like,
one
hit-
I didn't do very good.
Yeah, some of them you didn't do good, but like when
First 2.
anytime you would have one and you
Dude,
were
my
like,
second one was almost perfect.
I don't remember.
I was like, oh, like he's gonna
I
fuck
gotta
the
say,
red
my
headed
predictions were
girl,
on
and he's gonna
point.
like Dunk's gonna fall, like he's gonna do some crazy shit with the redhead girl and betray. Like I was like into it. I was
Those
go
were
back in time.
those were some of our first podcasts, but I think they were some of our best. I think it was because we had 2 people who had no idea what was going. Well, Glow had read ahead, but we had one person who had no idea what was going on. Glow was reading for the first time, so we were getting real reactions from both of them. I think it's gonna be better when we start getting into like book 2 because obviously Jeff doesn't remember shit about these books.
I don't.
Once
It's been like 4 years. What do you want from me?
What? We read
2,
it like
3
a year ago.
Actually, even 5. I read 5 twice and I barely remember.
You
Like, I
made,
remember
Nelson,
the major
you made
points.
me read them so fast.
All right, I'm hammering.
that we could
I'm
talk
hammering
about it.
into your head now though, so you won't forget after this. But we'll call it there. I don't have anything else. Do you guys have anything else? The Arya thing.
Got nothing.
Danny's a babe.
No direwolves and no sweet.
She's a 14-year-old babe.
All right, Bran. Next chapter. Where's Bran at? What's the last Bran?
Bran's
chapter?
in his bed. He just woke
Yeah,
up.
he just woke
Woke
up.
up was the last chapter.
Summer.
We're gonna get a little Hodor basket.
Is it
Shit
gonna
with
be
Summer.
Does it start with a dream? Do we get a dream?
No, in the yard below. Rickon
Does
ran the
Tyrion- does
pools,
Tyrion
Bran
show
watched
up?
From his window. Tyrion might show up.
I think he does. I think he gives him the saddle this time around. They're all like, "Why would you do this for us?"
All right. Well, we'll call it there. There's a lot in this chapter, so we might have missed something. If we did, you know what to do. Tweet at us. First person that does,
$5.
Just $5.
Jeff will Venmo you $5.
Whoa, no. You said you.
All right, somebody's gonna pay me $5. We'll all pitch in.
We'll all pitch in $1.33.
Yeah. All right. So thanks guys for listening. Check us out next time on The Morning Throners.
See
Jeff,
you
that will
guys.
only be $4.
I know.
The night is dark and full of terrors, boys.